When analyzing data, one of the things we want to look at is called distribution. And distribution is how is the data distributed, or essentially spread out. How is the data distributed or spread out? Now, typically we want to look at a graphical display of this. It's much easier to read a graphical display. The most common graphical display we would use is called a histogram. And a histogram is much like a bar graph, but the bars actually touch. So this is a graphical display of where data is grouped. So for example, here we have two histograms. Notice these are much like bar graphs. And you'll notice in this first one, the data seems to be grouped more to the right-hand side. This would be the frequency here, or the number. This is called the frequency on the vertical bar. And this means that more of our data is on the right-hand side. In this bar graph, in this histogram here, more of our data is displayed on the left-hand side. And I've also copied a few histograms on the height of trees. So again, notice here we have the frequency, or the number of trees, on the vertical, and on the horizontal axis, this is the height of trees. These are all the heights of trees. So I'm going to call this example 1, example 2, and example 3 and 4. Now you'll notice on this first example here, the heights of the trees all seem to be hovering around 150 to 160. So they seem to be, there's a tendency for the tree height to be around here. If we look at example 2, this is in meters. Now here we have our graph is a little more to the right, and it seems that there's a greater number of trees that hover between 20 and 24. And then looking at example 3, they seem to be all over the place. This is tree height in centimeters. There's more between the 250 and 300 centimeter mark, but they're a bit all over the place. And then with our last example, again, there seems to be more between the 75 and 80 mark than anywhere else. So that is how a graphical display would look like of data. Now there's one very common distribution that we want to look at, and that is called the normal distribution. This is the normal distribution here. Now this middle point here where the bar is the highest, this is the mean. And with a normal distribution, the data is symmetrical about the mean. That means that it's exactly the same on the right side as it is on the left side of that mean value. This is symmetrical, either side. And remember the mean, we call this the average also. The average. And when we're talking about a whole population, we use the letter mu when we're talking about population, or we use X with a bar on it when we're talking about sample of a population.